Hello, everybody, and welcome to Creatives Connection. Can we get connected? Today, we are joined by
Jay,
and we are. I can't take Wednesday seriously, and we are going to have a heartfelt conversation about creativity, and we're just going to deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
It is going to be a heart to heart.
Oh, yeah.
And before we get started, I'm going to. Hey, Mom. Welcome to our podcast. We're going to get some questions going, and I know I've done the description. So I'm going to read it back with my fellow creatives here, and we're going to get going. So this is great. We're doing great now. So where would you like to start? The questions for musicians, photographers.
Let's start with the musician question.
All right, we'll start with... Hi, Knights. All right, we'll start with the questions about musicians. So as a musician, what would you say that your biggest inspiration was? Or who was your... Thank you, Wednesday. Ignore my cat throwing things. Who would you say your biggest inspiration was, and what would you say your style of music is?
Okay. As far as style of music, I like to try everything at least once.
Okay.
So I'm talking about I done made country, any genre you can think of.
Country music.
If you name one thing, I got at least one file somewhere.
Okay.
Of me doing it.
All right, I can start with that.
But I think somebody that made me comfortable doing that would be Young Thug.
Really?
Because when he came out, nobody was doing what he was doing.
Right.
He used his voice, and I think that being able to be versatile and use your voice is important in music, because it's kind of glazed over now.
I agree. I feel like everybody's so used to wanting to try something new that it all sounds the same.
Exactly.
And it kind of makes you wonder what originality is.
Exactly.
That being said, what would you consider originality?
I think that when you go into making something completely open to making whatever comes out of it, because there's times with making music, it's been more of a hobby for a long time. I haven't really pushed it until now.
Okay. Is there a reason?
I just never thought to do it, and then now I just moved to Charlotte, and I'm getting started on everything.
Okay, so it's everything. Fresh start.
Yeah.
We are going in on this.
Go all the way.
Okay.
But yeah, I think originality is just doing something that's genuine to you, and going into it just completely open to whatever happens, and creating art,
Okay. I like that. All right. When did you first start writing music?
Oh, man. I was in, middle school.
Did it start as anything else?
Because
I know, with my music, it began as poetry.
I've done poetry, too. I enjoy poetry still to this day. But I think I was just listening to music, and I was like, oh, man.
I want to do that.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Me with Mary J. Blige. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
Did you see she's coming to Thursday? On Thursday, she'll be performing in Charlotte.
I wish I would have knew that ahead of time.
I wish I wasn't working. Oh, that's tomorrow. Oh, my God.
Thursday. Wow.
That is, oh my gosh. Next question. What is your favorite thing about music? Now, that could mean, no context at all.
Okay.
Just favorite thing about music.
My favorite thing about music is that you can feel it. I think it's overlooked a lot now that music is art.
Right.
I think a lot of people are kind of get into it because you make money or you get famous or whatever. I think just the art of it and being able to feel it, that's got to be my favorite thing, even with listening to it.
Oh, yeah. I think, little backstory. I feel like one of those times where you genuinely feel something, I'd say, and this is not going on a religious tangent, but in church, when you get that one person that hits that note and you feel that in your bones, you're just whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
Why did that hit?
Exactly.
I will find myself constantly, when it comes to music, I'll cry. Genuinely, if you hear something live and it just hits that hard. I've been crying at a heavy metal concert. I went to go see Bad Omens.
That's the first time I've heard that.
It hit.
Yeah.
There's something about the lyrics, and it wasn't one of those, screamo, It was like their one song that was super like...
Okay.
Not cry for help type thing, but one of those genuine, the lyrics hit. It was like the slowest part of the song, and I was like sobbing, and I was like, man.
It's different when you hear stuff live.
It's different when you hear it live, and when you like genuinely feel the lyrics like on your situation, you're like, oh.
Exactly.
You need to call me out like that. All right. I've already asked what type of music you make. What's your favorite genre? If you like had to stick to one singular genre, what would you do?
Well, I would have to really learn how to sing. I think I want to learn how to sing real bad. Because like you said, I feel like you can feel singing way more than a lot of other stuff. Like with rap, like I like rapping, that's cool.
Sure.
But I think singing, like doing some type of R&B, would be like
it would hit
my number one. Yeah,
I get that. All right, let's talk inspiration. How has your family's support and love influenced your music or career? Or lack thereof. Sometimes the lack of support will push somebody to want to do better and be better and go further.
So until pretty recently, most people didn't know I made music because I would just make it for myself, hobby, you know. But since I've been sharing the music, like one person, I'll say my cousin, me and him, we kind of came up together making music here and there, just randomly. And we always, anytime I make something, I'm sending it right to him and vice versa. And getting that feedback, I think that really...
Oh, I love that really, for you.
It pushes you.
All right, so that would go right into the family ties. In what way would they help you navigate the challenges of it? Is there any, was there any pushback that wasn't, like, a positive thing? And it was just like, damn, I don't know how I'm going to keep going with this.
Yeah, I think kind of getting over that, like, I don't want to say embarrassment, but, like...
Sometimes that's what it is, though.
Yeah, it's like the stage fright, I guess, of putting yourself out there because it's a big thing to do.
Is it stage fright or is it fear of rejection? I'm going to pick your brain on that for a moment. And not rejection as in a boo, you suck kind of way, but in a no one's going to hear it. No one's going to relate to it. No one's going to understand it. Is it the stage fright of, I couldn't do it live? Or is it the I'm nervous that nobody's going to like it or understand it?
I think it's more...
Could be both.
I think there's definitely a little bit of both of those. And then on top of that, I think it's that it's something that I've never been known to do. So then I just come out of the blue and start pushing.
Speaking of coming out of the blue.
Just like that. Come out of the blue and just start to push that. It's I guess it's just trying to think of the phrase, but it's something you got to get used to, essentially.
There's growing pains in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. I got it. Is there any friendship that has kind of pushed you to do more? Is there a friendship that has significantly impacted this journey as a musician, as the creative outlook even?
Yeah. I think... since being in Charlotte, I've met so many people, like the group chat that we're in.
Right.
Just meeting people, going outside, just talking to people. That's something, because I'm from a small town. I didn't really have that as much. It was like you kind of already knew everybody you were going to know.
Yeah.
And out here, I'm forced to go and meet people. And there's so many more people to meet. So the people that I'm meeting are similar goals, similar passions, hobbies, and I think that pushes me to be like, oh man, they're doing. Man,
I gotta do it. I gotta get going.
Right.
Definitely understand that. I think that's another reason I started this podcast was because I was like, damn, they are like. But also the lack of connection in society of today, where everybody claims, social media makes us all so connected.
Yeah. It's all surface level.
Yeah.
If that.
It's all screen level.
Yeah.
I couldn't even say people are surface level anymore. And I think that's another reason I wanted so badly to, like, find creative people around here and find people that want to tell their stories.
Exactly.
Like, when I see people with tattoos, the first thing I want to know, what's your story?
Exactly.
What was the story behind that? What does that mean? So, like, out of my 43 tattoos, I can tell you the story behind, like, 39 of them.
Wow.
It's always going to be one of those. There are so many people and so many stories to tell and so many stories to hear.
Exactly. Yeah, that's another thing about being in the city, being in Charlotte. You walk down the street, you're going to run into somebody that you can have a real conversation with and learn about their life, and I enjoy that too.
Yeah, Mom. 43. We're not talking about that. All right, let's talk about supportive community. How important is it to have a supportive community? Be it friends, family, a significant other?
I think human nature is extremely important to have at least somebody that reinforces the ideas that you have and supports you, as in, I want to do this, and they say, yeah, go do it. You know?
Would you say that you would not need, but like grow more if they held you accountable?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I don't want people around me that are like,
yes,
yeah, that's good. Yeah, I hate it.
I can't handle having friends like now, because I used to be able to be like, oh, well, my friend said it was cool, so like,
right.
Yeah, they're just.
But they always say that.
They always say that.
Exactly.
Now that I'm a part of like creative groups and stuff, I genuinely, like, if I say, hey man, I'm gonna do this, they're gonna reach out probably like the next day, like, yo, how'd that start? Exactly. How did you come up, like, did you follow up on that? Did you? And they hold you artistically accountable, which, like, I think that's another reason that I was so like, I gotta get here, I gotta do this, we have to have this like this episode going. It was like holding myself accountable, but also when we both were like, yeah, let's do this. Let's do it. we had to lock in.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
Okay.
It's real important to have people that hold you accountable, and in order to have those kind of people or to attract those kind of people, you got to be that kind of person.
Exactly.
So,
and I feel like that's another thing I would say, not that this generation like can't do, but it's one of those they won't do.
Right.
Like, I would say they do that, but in the most negative of ways.
Yeah.
Because I was talking about this last night. There's this, I'm going to treat them how they treat me. I'm going to do them how they do me. The most toxic shit that you could possibly do as a human. Where is that? Where's the reverse of that? Where is the positivity of that? Where is the, oh, they uplifted me when I needed them the most, I'm going to do the same thing with them. No, it's always, oh, they did this to me, so I'm going to do that right back. Like,
it's so easy to count the negatives rather than count the positives. Like, they did this, and that, and I don't like them anymore. But they did all these good things too.
Yeah,
it's real easy to get caught up in the negative.
Oh yeah, I feel like that's another thing that social media is great at doing, is focusing on, oh, this one person did this horrible, terrible, awful thing.
Yep.
That one time.
28 years ago.
28 years ago. Let me think. All right, let's love the societal part of things. We're doing great. Okay, let's talk community. Can you share a story about how either like platonic, familial relationship, how a connection within the music community impacted you, either your musical growth or your personal growth?
Okay. I mean, I've always been interested in music, so people that make music that may not be famous or whatever yet, I'm going to go ahead and put that on them.
Yeah. Manifest it for them.
Right.
Hold them artistically accountable.
But anybody that goes out there and puts their stuff out there, I always have kind of been drawn to that.
Okay.
So I made a lot of friends, even just online, that have inspired me to push myself because they're doing it. And I'm like, they can do it, I know I can do it.
Exactly.
You know?
All right. You need to come to Bart Smart.
Bart Smart.
Bart Smart is where a little group of us musicians will get together and we'll perform our music.
Nice.
And I have a friend, Val, Maggie, Haydix, Blake, which all of them said they'd be on this podcast. So that's why I'm so confident in name dropping them.
Exactly.
Holding y'all accountable. All of us, we have this like little group of musicians where it will like, oh, Starlight's doing an open mic night. It's a place in Noda. Midnight Muse, I think, they do Monday night open mics. And there was just a group of us musicians that would all who am I seeing tonight?
Yeah.
Somebody better pull up. Somebody better come perform this with me.
I like that.
And everyone would listen to each other's music. Okay. So when that person performed it live, you hear everybody yelling it. I have a video of me performing one of my songs, I think it was Broken Record, live at a lounge, and just people in the crowd, like the friends that I had there, were just like going, hey, like hyping it up, and they were like singing along, and it was one of those things where you kind of sit there like, they know my songs, they know me, like that
feels good.
It was the most like community-based thing I've ever seen.
Bard Smart. I'm gonna have to.
Bard Smart. It's a Tuesdays thing. I think it's every other Tuesday. I'll have to get back to you on that one. But
just let me know. It
is like insane what the music community in Charlotte will do. Like music community, artistic community. I mean, even the Charlotte Creatives thing we're in. Like to see how many people, after I'd sent that message, to see how many people reached out.
Right.
I was like, I'm overwhelmed. I've got the next 2 weeks. Like,
wow.
Everybody and their mama decided that it was time to just let's talk.
Take that opportunity.
Let's get it rolling.
I like it.
And I wonder if please stop biting my computer. I wonder if in some capacity me reaching out saying, hey, I want to know about your arts, I want to know about what you're doing and what you're making, I can't help but wonder if that made them want to create a little more, or if they wanted to have something to...
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm calling you out. Yeah. Good. I'm glad.
Exactly.
This is the way that I can hold you accountable.
I like it.
So, that being said, what projects do you have going on? What are you thinking? What are you...
So aside from I have a song dropping Friday. But...
Calendars. Clock it.
Go ahead. Aside from that... I had a photo shoot the Saturday before last.
Okay.
And I'm planning on having another one in the next couple of weeks. Thanksgiving and everything. I'm trying to figure that out. But I'm actually going to have it in my hometown, which is Greenwood, South Carolina, about 2.5 hours from Charlotte.
Okay.
And just involve people I grew up with.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Making
my gosh.
kids' clothes for my little cousin. And just trying to branch out on that aspect.
That's exciting.
And just show people, like, I came up here and did this. You can do it too. Like, don't get complacent. Because a lot of people that grow up in a small town get stuck there.
That's how it feels with me. Like, I've been in this town my whole life.
Right.
And this is one of those towns, everybody knows everybody. You live here, you die here.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up in the church across the street.
Okay.
Like, genuinely, when I tell you, you live here, you die here, it's one of those things. And then this town started growing. Mm-hmm. And then I started branching out and meeting people. And now I have friends in different states. And I started going to conventions. And it was just, you start spreading out and you start realizing you do not have to stay forever. No progress will ever be made inside of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
And of course, the whole bloom where you're planted quote.
Yeah.
Yes, but it doesn't tell you how far you reach.
Exactly.
Like, how far does your reach go? How far, like, don't forget your roots, sure.
Yeah.
But how far can you continue?
Exactly. There's only so many resources in this area you grew up.
You
have to go. Like, when I decided to move to Charlotte, I found a job up here and moved, like, in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Like, I just did it.
It's one of those get up and go.
Yeah.
You gotta, like, you have to realize you cannot always stay in the same place.
Exactly.
Forever. It's one of those, thank you, Wednesday, laying down right in front of me.
Right.
Because I didn't need to see anything. We were totally going on a tangent.
We were.
Oh,
good.
Modeling. That thing. So, speaking of community, we're going to go on a little side tangent.
Let's do it.
In the same capacity. I was invited by Blue to do a shoot, and he popped up in here. He was the very first person to reach out and give me a chance.
Yeah.
And every time I thank him, he's like, you don't really need to thank. I'm like,
but still.
I do, though.
Yeah.
Because through Blue, I had been invited to a meetup for creatives, or for models and photographers, which... Remind me about that.
I will.
C. Morton Photo. His Instagram.
Okay.
He hosts meetups, and I think there were 13 photographers
Wow.
the first time that grabbed me, and they were like, you, new person, afro, get. And I was like, oh, whoa. And then out of the 70-something pictures, 60 of them either ended up on a magazine cover or in magazine articles.
Wow.
And they taught me about this app called Caviar, and it's Kavyar.
Okay.
Caviar? Caviar.
Caviar.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Caviar, but not the food. It's a thing for photographers and models. She's like about to turn that thing off. Photographers and models to network and reach out. And I have like photographers in France saying, hey, whenever you come by, because it's always been a dream to go to Paris. So one of these days, I'm gonna book that flight. Swear. They've said, yo, whenever you come, I will give you a free shoot. I love what you're doing. I love your work. She's stressing me out. I'm trying to think of who all I've worked with. I've worked with so many amazing people, and it was all through this one guy that just decided to do these meetups.
Yep.
And now every time I go to one, I have photographers that are like, let's get on a front cover this time. Like, let's get, and they're just so, and now she's eating the thing, they're like, let's get locked in. Let's take photos. We're going to get a front cover. And it's just one of those things where one person can cause such a great effect.
Definitely.
That, like, I don't know, I, like, cannot even begin to explain. And then Content Sunday. Content Sunday is they're another Instagram account. I adore them. The team has agreed to be on this podcast as well, so I'm like, let's go! But Content Sunday is a Sunday where just a bunch of creators get together. It's the same thing, but with, I don't want to say, like, younger people as in, like, bashing. That's not what I mean. But, it's just a bunch of us get together. We rent out the Noda Art House for a few hours.
Okay.
And I met one of the closest friends ever.
Really?
And her and I go to church together. We, like, serve together, all that good stuff. And her and I's work ended up on a New York Times billboard.
Wow.
And meeting her at Content Sunday, just because it had come up on my feed. Like, community is absolutely essential. When you are a creative person, you need community.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those, like, needing air, needing water, needing, like, people need people. Like you were saying earlier, it is the human condition to need people. And I think it was more of like a chain of events that was just, you meet this one person, and then you start following creative people, and then you start following, and then sometimes they all tie, like sometimes they tie together. Like the girl I was telling you about, Maggie.
Right.
I met her through one thing, and then saw her at Creative or Content Sunday. She goes, I'm a model and a photographer as well. And I was like, you and I met through music though. And I was like, wait. She goes, well, two things can be true. But it was one of those things that it was just one after the next, after the next, after the next.
Exactly.
And then I realized in this community, you can be so many things. So now Maggie and I are on a team with Milan X Productions. And I actually work for her now. It's a creative agency where we're doing that thing for the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow.
We're doing that Doritos thing.
Wow.
And we have professional videographers, and one of the winners of one of the Super Bowl commercials is joining us from years past. And it was just... Also, you're more than welcome to join that if you'd like. Awesome. Please reach out about that.
Of course, I will.
Remind me, because,
I got you. I know.
Dory brain.
I know, me too.
But it was just so weird that her and I saw each other at one thing, then it went to another thing, and then it went to another thing, and it was just connection after connection after connection. And then her and I were like, oh, like, that's crazy, blah, blah, blah. We sit down. She has a creatives, like, philosophy thing, where everybody just sits down, everybody does, like, Zen, yoga. She has people bring their journals. We'll sit, like, under the moon, like, moon and stars, sit outside, and just create.
I like it.
It's like a quality, it's like quality time. People that have the love language of quality time adore this. Yeah. Because, I mean, everybody's just in their space doing their craft. Some people will go to a different room if they have, like, instruments and stuff that they can bring. But you're all connected by an art in some way, shape, or form. Like, I remember being at my first one, and somebody was like, oh, does anybody have a pen? And like 8 different creative people grabbed their bags or their guitar cases or their journals. And they were like, oh, yeah, here.
Yeah.
I'm not using this right now. I usually use it to, like, write my poetry or write my music, but you can use it. And it was just it was such a good conversation starter, too, because somebody had said, like, oh, I use this one to write my poetry, but, like, here, go for it. And that started can I read some of your poetry?
Yeah, exactly.
And it was just the chain reaction.
Yeah, it's like everything's snowballs.
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
And especially, I mean, all of that happened within the span of a solid 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just...
Yeah.
Whoa. Like, if you get connected with, like, a good person and the creative person that has other creative connections, everything kind of just falls in line.
100%.
And that's one of those, like, not a you get what you wish for, but more of a you get what you work for.
Mm-hmm.
And if you work to make good connections and network properly and do great by other people and do what you can to help and, like, support, you're going to go so much further.
Exactly.
I feel like I just yapped for a solid, like,
Gems.
20 minutes.
Gems, though. All gems.
That was just...
Man.
Welcome to the podcast. We are yapping.
Oh, yeah.
We're going.
Get used to it.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be like this for just about every episode. It's going to be stories that connect together. And then everything is just kind of like this. But background context. But this. But over here. We went from A to 27.
And what were we talking about?
Where were we? That being said, I will let you ask a question.
Okay. Now, I am curious as to what type of music you make. I don't think I got to listen to it yet.
My music is a strange mix. I would say it's somewhere between, like, it goes from bedroom pop to lo-fi with lyrics to alternative somehow.
Yeah.
Don't ask questions, I can't answer them. And it just kind of, like, Daniel Caesar mixed with SZA with an occasional Paramore anger.
Okay. I know what I'm listening to on the way home, man.
I think one song that has been brought up by, like, anybody that listens to my music is the song I Lied.
I Lied.
And funny enough, I wrote that song in 5 minutes.
Really?
And it was a total, like, I forget that whenever you hold up your hand and do certain things, the emoji pops up. So I look over and it's just like, thank you. Got my phone out affirming me over here.
Right.
But I had written it in 5 minutes, and it was one of those, it's so, like, close and personal to me that it was one of those, I don't know if I want anyone to hear it.
It's just kind of for me.
Yeah.
I get it.
So then when I put it out and kind of, like, sent it over to my friends, a few of them that had been through similar things were like, yo, you need to, like, release this. I feel like a lot of people are going to understand.
It can help.
And I guess it did, because as soon as I started posting it, it was just, like, one of those things that people were like, hey, I'm glad that you, like, let this out, because I couldn't put it into words, and there it is. And I'm like, whoa. Like, I'm glad, but it was just very weird to have somebody relate as much as they did.
Yeah, especially when it's something so personal that, like you said, you made it. Not even intending to put it out there.
Definitely not. It was one of those, like, I'm going to lock this in the vault and nobody's going to hear it, but I'm going to listen to it when I need to remind myself of where I came from.
Exactly.
And then people were like, hey, by the way, I'm going to need that.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, that was another roadblock for me, I think, as far as releasing music. It was like, it's hard for me to just talk about stuff I don't care about.
Yeah.
You know, or just, like, the basic, like,
small talk is such a
and all that.
conversation killer.
Yeah. So,
I'll die on that hill.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I will.
Right. But, yeah, I mean, so everything that I would, for the most part, make music about was, like, personal or genuinely going on in my life. And it was, like, to be able to put that out there in the beginning before anybody's really gonna listen to it. The only people that listen to it know me already.
Right.
So then it's like I'm telling you these things that we may not have talked about. But then I just had to just say, it is what it is. So just put it out there.
Here we go.
Yep. Just do it.
Bro said, we're gonna walk in real quick. Sometimes that's how it goes.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it, I'd say.
Yeah, you just gotta just start. Just do it. I mean,
Nike.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's think. Let me read some.
Oh, good.
We've been through the support. We've been through the music. Okay, how do you balance maintaining personal relationships when, like, pursuing your art? Not even music, just your art in general.
I had to take a step back from just being overly involved with people that weren't either supporting or helping benefit me in any kind of way. Of course, there's people I care about that. I think, to put it in better words, knowing the position of everybody around you. Everybody
Right.
around you you don't need to be around them all the time or to pour into them all the time.
Right.
Because there's people that you can mutually benefit with.
Right.
And then there's people that you can help them, but that favor will never be returned. Which isn't to say that I help people to be helped.
No,
but
no.
you're losing yourself whenever you pour into people too much.
Yeah.
So I think finding that balance for one, and then the people that I do surround myself with, I make sure that we have similar goals. We're headed towards the same thing. Like the same cousin that I mentioned with the music. Like, we done tried everything together as far as like making music, trying to make money. Like since we was in high school, just we done did everything. And this kind of is off the topic, but trying everything is another one of my things. Like, I want to know how to do everything at least a little bit. Yeah,
Same.
exactly.
If the insane corner of craft didn't.
Yeah, I love it. I'm jealous a little bit. But yeah, I lost the original question. I think I answered it, but jack of all trades is a master of none. But I don't need to master all of them. I just need to have my foot in the door.
I like that a lot.
Thank you.
Hell yeah. Let's think. What else? I feel like I've got...
Looking at the screen right now reminds me that one day I want to get into acting for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah. I have since I was a kid.
I can help with that.
There we go. Just like we were talking about.
Jack of all trades,
Yeah.
master of none.
I saw, in the group chat you were... Can I talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, I've posted about
okay.
it.
The Channing Tatum shoot and Sydney Sweeney.
That's going to be on
That's
Friday.
tough. That's
and I'm
tough.
so excited. The thing is, they post it on Facebook. They'll say, hey, we're casting.
Oh, yeah,
we
I've seen
need...
those.
I'm in, like, 8 groups. Like, all these Facebook groups that... I mean, people will just... They'll throw the opportunity at you.
You got to catch it.
You got to chase it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll say I bit off way more than I could chew starting off with the Channing Tatum one. Because I was like, oh, like, I could do that. That'll be fine. That'd be easy. You just need me for one day. And then they booked me for 7.
Wow.
And it got overwhelming because it was like, whoa, I still have a job.
Yeah.
I still have
Try to
2 jobs. And I just started a new job tonight. And then had this at the same time. And it was one of those, how the hell am I going to balance this?
Exactly.
And then the casting director texted me even this morning, like, hey, by the way, we need you on Saturday. And it was one of those, like, yes, I'll be there. However, don't expect me to constantly burn myself out on this specific thing. And I never want it to come across as, like, I'm too busy for this. I'm too, like, it's a genuine,
you
like...
have to be realistic, too.
Preserve yourself and don't... Because you're going to get burnt out.
Exactly.
And at first,
That's the
I
worst.
was terrified that that's what was going to happen with me in modeling or, like, even acting, was that I was going to book and overbook and just da-da-da-da-da and screw myself over.
Exactly.
And I kind of did. And then it turned into a, like, oh, I'm excited to do this. However, the passion is kind
don't
of...
have the energy.
Yeah.
No desire. I
Or, like,
understand.
running on fumes. So I think right now that's why I've taken a step back from modeling for a second. Like, yes, I still want to book shoots. Yes, I still want to do stuff. Yes, I still want to be, like, like, do that. You just gotta take a second.
It's gotta make sense.
Gotta step back and readjust. I think that's what it really boils down to. Because I do not want to burn myself out on another passion.
Exactly.
Like poetry. I burnt myself out on it so bad.
Yeah, I think I've been there too. It's kind of on and off.
It comes and goes in waves.
Yeah. And I think, like with music as well, when you don't really have the desire, but you're like, I gotta
get
ideas
something.
and I wanna do it, but you're not all the way there.
Yeah.
It don't turn out how you want, and then you're like, I'm not doing this.
I've felt that so many times. Far too many times, really.
You got to know when the time is right for everything.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, I think I don't want to say, like, oh, the universe gives you signs, but there are definitely ways that you can tell, like, it's time for that, or I need that, or somebody else needs to hear this.
Exactly.
Like, there'll be days that I, like, have an idea, and I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll sleep on it. But then the idea expands so much that you genuinely just can't sleep, and it's like, oh, bursting at the seams right now. Like, I need to at least write it down, at least make it known, at least, like, get it going.
Yep. I put together a studio setup in my house for that reason, because
sometimes
you just got to do it right then.
See, that's what the song I Lied, that's exactly what happened. I was like, nope, I'm going to go home, I'm going to go to bed, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, I was wit's end. And then my brain was like, whoa, I have an idea.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, I can wait until tomorrow. I'll write it tomorrow. And I just, the lyrics just kept, and it was the same thing. The same, like, no, this is what needs to be said. This is exactly what needs to happen. This is what needs to be said in the chorus and the pre-chorus. And I was like, okay, all right. It. And it just, one shot.
Man.
It was.
That's how it goes. When you have it, you have it. And you gotta use it.
It was amazing to be able to just sit and knock it all out in one go, and then go back, master, do all that.
Yeah.
I still haven't performed it live.
Really?
I'll perform the Aftermath, Broken Record, Self-Sabotage. Have not performed I Lied.
Really?
But I Lied is the one where everybody's like, please, please, and I'm just like, I don't know if we're ready for all that. But like you said, it's one of those, like, when it's ready, it's ready. And when your brain is like, it's time.
Oh yeah.
It's giving the Kronk meme. Oh yeah. It's all coming together.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
It's basically exactly how it goes. But yeah.
Yeah, you'll know when it's time.
Oh yeah.
Man. So where do you perform?
Usually it is places like Bart Smart or Midnight Muse or Starlight on 22nd. There are a lot of different places around Charlotte that you can perform in.
Definitely.
And it's also finding the right people. Dude, Threads?
Oh, I know.
Insane.
I've been on there.
Threads is how I met Blue. And then we found out Blue, like, lives right down the road from me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're into Marvel. We did a Domino from Deadpool 2 shoot.
Oh, word.
And he was like, yo, you're 5 minutes from my house. I was like, you're 5 minutes from my house, actually. We decided to meet over at that Mulligan's.
Okay.
We called Mulligan's. It was like, yo, can we do a quick photo shoot? And they were like, yeah, sure. Just tag us in the pictures.
Nice.
And he was like, can't believe we met on Threads. I was like...
Yeah, most of the people from that group chat I met on Threads.
I met the girl that added me on Threads. And it's just one of those things where you realize that it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
And who you know can teach you so much. Like, not even on some, like, mentor stuff, but in the most... Things.
Like, just the way somebody carries themselves, you can learn from that. It doesn't have to be them telling you. You just, from observation, can learn so much.
Oh, yeah. I feel like it's another thing our generation is, like, god-awful at, is picking up on somebody's intention or the way that somebody meant to do things. I don't know. It's just...
Yeah. I think that intentions is kind of like a gray area, because if somebody tells you that their intentions, you never know what their intention is behind it. But you have to be able to read it to a certain extent. And give leniency, which I think is something that it took me a while to understand, but once I understood, it was like, things can't really upset you anymore.
Yeah.
Whenever you understand intent, like most people aren't out to get you.
No, God
like,
no.
People aren't out to get you. They're not trying to do the wrong thing.
Yeah, no.
You know, things just
I think
happen.
that's something that this generation also can't understand, is that not everything is said against you.
Yeah.
It's one of those you have to, like, it's also an actions speak louder than words thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody has positive intent and somebody wants to do good and somebody wants to do, like, support you and be there, they're gonna be there.
Exactly.
They're gonna make a way.
Oh, yeah.
And people's attention and people's, like, effort towards you shows exactly what their intentions are. There's something. The FBI's out to get me. That part, actually.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's the first comment that I read out loud, and of course it's that. Understood.
Hey, that's got nothing to do with me.
You said nobody's out to get you. Not everybody's out to get you. The FBI. Why am I just now picking up on that? But yeah, no, I think that's one thing this generation needs to understand is that, like, not everybody has bad intentions. I think that's another reason I wanted to start this podcast, is to show passionate people that truly care and truly want to put art and creativity and love into this world. I feel like creatives are probably the most, like, old soul in a way kind of people that truly show you what light in a world is. And I think people use art in any form of the word. I mean that in such a large way, in, like, the entirety of the word art. Like, you couldn't break that word down into a definition. I mean, you have like the textbook definition, but even that has, like, 4 different contexts to it. So, like, there is no true definition that I could use for art. But I would definitely say creative people have so much beauty and so much light and so much to give to this world that, like, they need that community. They need that, like, hey, let's
get it out there. And just to touch people with that art.
Oh, yeah. I think that's why this podcast was so, like, essential for me to start, because there's so many people that have so many stories and so many passions that they could talk about, but, like, would anybody listen? Would anybody care? Like, I'm sitting over here, like, yes, me.
How do I find you? You know,
like where do I go to reach out to a creative person? Like,
you have to find your audience. It's like you can talk to 100 people, but if you talk to the wrong 100 people, you gain nothing from every conversation you've had.
That's why, like, I had posted on my story. I sent it to the creatives group chat. I posted it on my cosplay account and got, like, a group. It's probably going to be like a week of like, the guy that I'm interviewing tomorrow is a cosplayer.
I like it.
And I'm so excited because I'm like, all right, we're going to talk community. We're going to talk about, like, how important it is to have people and connection and, like, this, that, and the third. And it was like, I am in the right place for the right people for the right reasons. Therefore, I know that this is all going to come back in such a great way. And I hope and I pray that people are going to say, like, I needed this.
Exactly.
This came around right when I didn't know what to create, didn't know who I was, didn't know where I was going, didn't know what I wanted to do anymore. Like, I want to be able to know that, like, I helped somebody.
Right.
That somebody knows that they are heard, that they are seen, that they are understood. Even if I don't fully understand in a capacity, like, I mean, I couldn't understand you in the capacity, like, you could sit me down and tell me every single thing about you, I still will not understand you until I've, like, seen your story, heard your story through an art form, most likely. That's art forms are how I would learn things.
It's the most purest form of expression, I feel like.
It's,
everybody's way of expressing through art is not the same, but I feel like no matter how they express it through art, somebody's gonna understand. Like painting, like that's something. I wish that I could paint better than I can.
Friday, I have an interview with an artist, and I'm gonna let her grab one of
Nice.
I'm going to let her
Okay.
grab one of the canvases and I'm going to let her paint.
That's nice.
Like, while we're on some Bob Ross,
Yeah.
like, we're going to
That's
sit
what I was
down and I'm going to let her just paint and tell me
Yeah.
what it is that
Yeah.
makes her and her art her.
I like it.
And I think that's one of those things that I really wanted to do. Like, if I had time, I would have grabbed my guitar. I would have grabbed a piano. I'd have been like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm going to play some melancholy chords
Yeah.
and you're going to tell me all about your life. Like,
I
it's
like
those
that.
things.
I like that.
It's those things of, I want to listen instead of just hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that this generation also can't differentiate,
Yep.
is between listening to somebody and truly hearing them and implementing what you're
Yeah.
told.
There's a lot of listening to respond or listening to react.
Oh, yeah.
And there's just, like you said, there's a huge difference between hearing somebody and listening.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
I'm not
just
even-
one of those things.
yeah.
Listen, we could go down that rabbit
Yeah.
hole all day. It's just one of those things where you kind of sit down and you're like, at the end of the day, a creative person you're going to learn a story
Exactly.
through creativity. And I think that's one of the greatest things. Like, people with tattoos, going
Yep.
right back to that's one of those things. People that sing, you can hear the emotion in their voice. I think that's another reason I used to love musicals the way I did. Like, I have the whole
That makes
Hamilton
sense.
musical right there on
My
that record
sister
player.
is so into Hamilton. She just went for, last month to see Hamilton.
I'm going in January.
Oh man, she's so excited.
It's one of those things, but like, hearing the emotion in somebody's voice instead of just seeing it on their face is just one of those things.
It's
Like,
different.
the voice is the muscle. It's a muscle. And you can train that, and you can train it to be stronger. You can train it to convey every kind of emotion that you need it to. I think that is why hearing an artist tell their story through a song is one of just the craziest things.
It is.
Like,
It is.
ooh. Like, there are some songs that you listen to and you're like, it feels like something's missing.
Yeah.
But then there are other songs where you hear, like, that soul and that pain and that agony. Like,
Every Lauryn Hill song.
that part, actually.
Oh my god.
I have 2 of her albums. I have Amy Winehouse, and
that's
I
another-
have X.
Oh,
I have
man,
4 X albums over there.
When he started singing, that was crazy. His voice is crazy.
Oh yeah, that's probably like my guilty pleasure.
Oh
I
my
need to
God.
like cry about it for a
Yeah.
moment. All of his albums.
Man.
I'm trying to think of who else I have. I could like glance over and say, oh, I have Chop Suey. Yeah, System of a
Childish
Down.
Gambino is another one that I really like.
You know what? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the name of the album. I always forget. The one that Redbone was on.
The one, yep, that's the one that me and your mama was on as well.
Yeah. Why can't I
What is
think
it
of the
called?
name?
X is my BF in the past life. You know what? I understand.
I believe it.
I believe it. I cannot, for the life of me, remember what that album is called, but I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Whenever I'm not trying to think of it, it just pops in my head.
Oh, yeah, you'll like
I have
text
the
me about it, and
vinyl
I'll
at
be
home.
like, head tilt, just, what does this mean? It's just gonna be like the word. I'm gonna be like, what does that even mean?
Okay.
Great question mark.
Yeah, I have the vinyl at home. I have to pick it up and look at it. But that album was crazy to me.
Oh,
when
yeah.
I heard that because it was like, it sounds like it was made in the 70s.
It's amazing. I love albums that go back to vintage.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's like us just being old people or if that's like a genuine, like, oh my gosh.
Jimi Hendrix. Like, I like
I have
Jimi
2 of his
Hendrix.
albums.
Oh, man.
I'm on a huge Chet Baker kick right now.
Really?
He wrote Everything Happens to Me. And it's just one of those, like, I need to be in a lounge in New York City with an old-fashioned in my hand when I hear that song.
I feel you.
Like, that's another thing about music. It'll take you somewhere that you
Yeah.
were not originally
You
at.
close your eyes, or you in the passenger seat in the car looking out the window. You just.
Oh, yeah, you got that story going on.
Yeah.
Head against the window, just sad.
It started raining. Oh, man.
It Will Rain by Bruno Mars is in the background. I have 2 of his albums as well.
Bruno Mars.
That man can put emotion in his voice. Die With a Smile. Couldn't even lie. First time I heard it, I sobbed.
Man.
Like,
it's
crazy. It is crazy what a voice can do.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's why musicians, circling back around to the beginning of the podcast, I think that's why musicians and their creativity have me like, I need to hear, like, every story that you can tell me. And that's also why I could never listen to just one genre. As, like, following up on that as well, I could never listen to just... That's why people, when they're like, oh, I can't stand this genre, that, like, everybody hating on country.
You haven't heard every song, though.
That part. Everybody hating on country, especially in this side of town. I'm like... Yeah.
You more city, you know?
Yeah. But if you haven't laid on the floor and listened to Let Her Cry by Hootie and the Blowfish, get out of here. You can't tell me that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, I think every genre has at least one gem in it.
Oh, yeah. Listen to at least 10, really, when you think about it. Like, I'll listen to anything and everything. Like, even if I have to Google what is the best song in this genre, what is considered the greatest song in that, like... Okay, example. When I figured out about Timothy Chalamet's Bob Dylan movie, I had no clue who Bob Dylan was. Like, I knew... But not But really. I didn't know. And I was like, okay, well... Let me look into the genre, and just went on a kick. Yeah. Like, not even just Bob Dylan's music, but, like, everybody else that was in his first folkish kind of riot anthem. Like, even that, I was like, okay, well, I can kind of get behind it. And now I have, like, 6 of his records. We don't talk about that part. And then I just started finding the other artists. And that's another, like, my favorite thing about musicians. My favorite thing about the rabbit hole that is creatives. Because, like, tying it back to the original, like, Beans of Community that I was telling you about earlier, BartSmart. They had that original group, and then a few of us also got into that group, and we started, like, performing. And now their music pops up in my Spotify, like, on repeat, and I'm like, yo, those are my people. And then you meet new artists through them. And then you get artists that come up in your recommended, and you look at where they're from, and they're from around here, and you're like, oh my god, like, wait.
Like, oh, now I get to see you in a show. You know,
and now I hear you, and now I know that song, and now if I hear it, I can sing along with it. And then that kind of helps everybody, because, like, you have your story being told. Like, as an artist, you have your story being told. You have the support. You have the love. You have the community. But now you got friends that have the same passions. See how we're tying all of this together? I love this. And now you have those passions, and now you're tying it all together in a, like, nice little box of... I don't know what the word I'm looking for would be. But being able to tie everything back together... It's
just...
so fulfilling. Yeah. It really is. Like, I loved going to BartSmart for the, like, 3rd or 4th time. And even, like, the owner of the bar being like, yo, Abby, like, you came back. And it's like, I did. And they're like, oh, your group's over there.
That's
and
tough.
Like,
I like it.
This random ragtag group of musicians. None of us had similar genres, by the way. I think the only ones that did were probably Blake and Haydix, and they were both, like, rapping.
Okay.
But, like, nobody else in that 8-person group had the same. Like, it was so cool. And you learned so much, and you learned so many stories. Like, Haydix is a Hispanic rapper that he'll rap mostly in English, but he'll throw a verse or two in there that's completely Spanish. He'll tell you about his family's struggles to get over here. He'll tell you about what he's going to do once he makes the money to go help them. And it's the coolest thing.
I like it.
You hear the stories, and then he'll, like, teach us Spanish sometimes so we can, like, yell and chant along with his stuff. And it's one of those, like, you could not do this in, like, any other, like, capacity. Like, people that work, like, office jobs, you couldn't.
Yeah,
I don't mean to, like, bash, but you couldn't get that community.
No, not in the office.
Never. A 9 to 5 could never.
No, you have to branch out. And what I always have said about 9 to 5s, take that 9 to 5 and use it to fund your real life.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, don't don't get caught up in that trying to climb the ladder up here. You got to let all that go.
I was about to say, if everybody else is climbing the ladder, it's going to get too heavy and those rings are going to break right off. So
Yep, so you better build your own ladder.
Exactly.
Yep. Build your own building.
Nobody's dream is to work a 9 to 5 until the day they die.
No.
Everybody has something, and that's probably my favorite thing to do, both when meeting somebody or going on a date or doing this, that, and the third. I'm like, what's your dream life look like?
Exactly.
And then I love to hear them tell me, and I'm like, so what's stopping you?
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that question.
So why are we sitting here right now, and why aren't you chasing after that dream tirelessly?
Exactly. That's something I ask people a lot, because I feel like a lot of people have dreams, and then a lot of people are just dreaming, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's people that really want something, and they're gonna put in the work to go get it, and then there's people that say, "Man, I want $1 million." Or
then there's the person next to them that's going, "Yeah, I'm gonna work my ass off. I'm gonna get that $1 million." Yeah. And it shows you the difference in dreamers and dreaming.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. It kind of makes me sad at times whenever it's like people have those desires and they'll express them, but you know they're not going to do anything to go get it.
Yeah.
And you can't force them.
Yeah.
You just got to kind of...
I'll have moments like that a lot where I want to ask my friends, like, oh, so what do you, like, what are those dreams? What are your aspirations? Yeah. What do you want to do? And they'll tell you about them, and you're like,
all right.
So
what's
what
the
are
first
you,
step? What are
you doing to, like, do that? You're trying to hold them accountable in, like, a gentle way, because you don't want to be, like, this overbearing, okay, like, hop to it, like, let's go.
Exactly.
Because you don't know how, like, the kickback for that's going to be. I definitely feel that in, like, every aspect, because I'll ask some friends about it. And they're like, oh, well, I really want to do this, I really want to do that. And they sound so, like, dude, that's my dream, that's my passion, I've always wanted to. But then they're scared. They're scared to chase it, or they don't have the resources to chase it, or they just don't have the support to chase it. And you're like, dude, I'll be your support.
Right.
I will help you find those resources to push you to that dream.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not going to let you sit here and say, man, that sure would be great. Like,
yeah, man, yeah, that would be cool. You should, one day.
One day, you sit here like, okay, one day or day one, get up. We gotta go.
I like it.
It's like one of my favorite things to do, especially with my cosplay friends.
Yeah.
Like, they'll say, oh, I really want to make my own, like, cosplay. I really want to make my own this, that, the third. I'm like, all right, cool. Bring your stuff over. I got a sewing machine right here. That's actually why I got it. To let my friend sew her cosplays. I was like, okay, cool. That was also my slight way of, like, holding her accountable, because she would tell me, and this had probably gone on for about a year, which is why I finally got it and brought it here. Because she was like, oh, well, I'll do it one day. I just got to get a machine.
And now that excuse is gone, so what do we
I was like, all right, I have a machine. It is right here. And she's like, you didn't have to do all that. And I was like, well, I also, like, sew pillows and stuff. Yeah. So, like, it's not just, like, for you. But, yes, that was my main reason. Yeah. But also, like, you said you wanted to start this. Let's get it started. And I'm like, how much time are you willing to devote to yourself?
Exactly.
And she kind of sat here. She was like, what do you mean by that? I was like, I know what I said. How much time are you willing to devote to yourself?
Exactly.
To put towards your dream, how many hours are you willing? She goes, I could probably do an hour a day. I was like,
yeah,
okay,
that's
cool.
a start. Do it.
Come over an hour every single day. And that hour starts as soon as you put that pedal on and stops as soon as you finish. And at first it was like granny squares, which that's a crochet term, but like at first it was like, if you can sew me the complete corners, if you can like do something small, the hour is up whenever you finish something up. And little by little. And then she ended up making her first cosplay. Really? And I was like,
I love it.
Fucking go!
Yeah.
And it was one of those, like, she was so excited. Bouncing on those. She was like, dude, I could never thank you enough for, like, making me, hi Wednesday, making me do this. And I was like, the thing is, I didn't make you do it.
I gave you the opportunity.
I gave you the resources, I gave you the time, and I gave you the space to do it and have a safe space to, like, get started. But I never once said, like, gun to the back of your head, like, get it done. It was one of those, here you go. You are supported. You are saved. I am listening. it was one of those, go ahead.
Exactly.
Hot Wednesday.
And speaking of, I learned how to sew when I was like 11, 12 maybe.
Really?
My grandma taught me.
Oh, that's dope.
So I started off like you said, making pillows, stuff like that.
It's a good start.
Yeah, and it's not too hard, but then you're able to be creative with it. And then I started trying to make clothes when I was around that age, and it was like, oh man, it's kind of harder than it looks.
Yeah.
And then I just kept working with it on and off here and there. And then I got a sewing machine, just bought a sewing machine. Like whenever I moved out on my own, and just started making stuff. And like almost everything I have on, besides the jacket, I made.
No way.
The hat, shirt.
What?
I did.
Dude.
Jeans.
That's sick.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
And I just started my Instagram page for it, like.
Well, if you ever need a model.
Always do. So yeah, we had a shoot. Everybody in the group chat. The Saturday before last, we all just got together and photographers came out. They had photo shoots.
Sick.
Yeah. So you'll be in the chat next time we have one.
Hell yeah.
And then I'm gonna also myself plan some. So
for sure,
you'll be in the.
I've got so many photographers. I have that whole group chat of 74 photographers and like 90 something models, and it's just. Yeah. I think our next meeting is, I think it's the 21st of November.
Okay.
Like, it's a Zoom call this time.
Okay.
But it's called, like, what makes a good meetup.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, the photographers are going to be on one end, the models are going to be on the other end, and we're just going to have a back and forth about, like, what makes a good shoot. What makes a good, like, where is the passion? Where is the disconnect?
Right.
What are the things that we could on both sides do better about? Right. I think that's what I'm so excited for, because, like, that really shit's about to kick.
Yeah.
So, I think that's super exciting. But that is so... I'm not over that. What? Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you don't support yourself, you can't expect nobody else to support you.
Exactly.
So, if I'm not at work or something like that, then I'm wearing stuff I made.
As you
all
should.
the time.
As you should.
And just like, if I get in the car and playing my music, like... Yeah, I did tattoos for a while, like as soon as I turned 18. Yep.
Two of my tattoos I've done myself.
Yep. I wasn't good at it when I started.
But you still did it.
Still did it. I just...
Still practiced. Yeah. Still got it.
Like, I know the techniques now. I know how to do it. So,
you know the different types of needles and the different how it works and all that stuff.
Exactly, depth and everything of that nature. Yeah, I think just throwing myself out there and just doing stuff, that's my passion.
That is the easiest way to, like, get yourself going somewhere.
Yeah.
I think, like, that's essentially kind of how I ran things with even this.
Yeah.
This was one of those, all right, like, got to do the shake your hands off, like, maximum effort, let's do this.
Yeah. For those of y'all that don't know, she texted the group chat this morning and said, I want to start a podcast.
Yep.
Here we are right now, 6-8 hours later, having a podcast.
We've been on this podcast for an hour and 3 minutes.
Nice.
It does not feel like that. I think we got a little too locked in. And we just started going. But that's kind of what I wanted with this. I wanted us to get carried away. Exactly. I wanted us to get so passionate that you're just like
oh man,
it gets quiet and you're like, all right, here we are.
Right.
But yeah, no, this morning, I think it was about 8 o'clock in the morning. I was like, last night's podcast was fun. And it was nice to be able to talk to a fellow creative. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of sat and was like, I think I want to give that a go. I think I want to go a different direction. Because hers was all about, it was for the app Blurdy. Mm. And it was... like romance for nerdy people. And I was like, yeah, that's right up my alley. Don't call me out like that. And then I was like, man, like, that was great and all. However, I think I want to go on a creative side of things. And, like, sure, I could grab my voice memos and I could start my podcast and just have me yapping for an hour straight about creativity and love and ideas. Or I could do what we're doing. And I think that saying... no, I want to bring other people into this. I want other people to host this. I want other people to tell their stories and get locked in and get excited and get passionate and tell their story.
Yeah, it also brings back in that accountability. If you know you have a podcast with somebody else, you have a guest, you got to do it. There's no excuse. Like, oh, I'll just push it off.
Oh, I'll do it another day. Like, no. As soon as you
set.
bring in another person.
Exactly.
Now you've got to respect their time. You got to respect your, like, you got to, like, lock in.
Exactly.
And it's super, like, I love that we did this and got carried away with it, because it's one of those, like, once you understand and once another person understands and you both get passionate about it at the same time, it's, like, mind-boggling. But yeah, no, this has been for first episode.
Oh yeah,
this goes crazy.
You would have thought you've been doing this for a while. I'll tell you, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You got a good media voice. You know, like you're able to articulate very well. That's
Twitch streamer things.
Yeah. I really appreciate you having me on. I'm glad to be the first guest.
I'm so glad to have you as the first guest. I would not want another start. And of course, I knew I wanted a musician. I knew I wanted somebody that did a bunch of things. Yeah. But I was also scared that we were going to be like scattered and all over the place. And while there was a little bit of it, we still tied things back too. Like we tied it back to like we
made it work. It was a spider web kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, as we said, you got to go to A to 23 to 57, and there's the context, and here's the...
But this is the answer to the question. There you go.
So this has been an amazing first episode. I think this definitely needs to happen again.
Oh, yeah. I definitely have to come back on.
Absolutely.
And you get established and everything. I know this is only going to go up from here.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And the same with your music. You need to come perform sometime.
Oh, yeah.
We got to lock in.
I'm going to text you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end this. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been amazing. Go follow him.
JJAYLANL on Instagram. Wherever this releases.
It'll be on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, ?
Probably both.
And there was another one. But you can find all of the links to the possibilities in my link tree. I went ahead and threw it there. And then for our thing, I tagged it. I'm going to throw it in a highlight.
Okay.
And then I will also... I think when you end this, you have the chance to post it.
Yeah, you can save the video to your phone.
That's what we're going to do. I'll go ahead and post it, and we'll just hold it on in there. We'll put it on YouTube. So, you can find this quite literally everywhere. So, if you want to start your creativity process,
do it.
Start it.
Yep.
Like, this journey can only begin once you've said that you're tired of how you used to live.
Yep.
And hey, if anything, if you think nobody's going to support you...
we will.
We will. Shit, come join the podcast. Yeah. We'll have you on for an episode.
Oh, yeah.
But again, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.
Guys.